hi everybody. Today we have a very special guest on the line with us. We have an entrepreneur extraordinaire, Tony Hsieh from Zappos.com. He's the CEO of Zappos. And for those of you who don't know Zappos, Zappos is an online retailer. And not only do they sell shoes and handbags and other things, but their main business is delivering happiness. And Tony's going to talk a lot about that today. And you know, I've met Tony a couple of years ago, and you know, I've ever since I learned about Zappos and Tony has been an amazing story. And I even took a tour. I went to Vegas and took a tour of Zappos as well. And I took my whole family with me, my wife and my kids with me, and it was an amazing experience. Tony and his team took Zappos from almost no sales in 1999 to doing over $1 billion in 2008. But what's amazing about Tony is that he started his first business when he was only 9 years old. And from reading your book, Tony, Delivering Happiness, I learned that you started your worm farm business at 9 years old. That was an amazing story, a funny story. And then Tony went on and have done many businesses since then. But the business before Zappos was when he sold that business, Link Exchange, when he was only 24 years old, to Microsoft for $265 million. And so I'm not going to delay this anymore here. Welcome, Tony. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time to be on this interview with us. I appreciate you greatly for doing that.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, let's start with, you can share with everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, and how did you get that entrepreneur bug at such a young age? I'm really curious about that.
I think for me, my parents came from Taiwan, and I was born in the U.S. And basically, I think it's pretty common for first generation Asian Americans that my parents kind of had my whole life mapped out for me from the beginning. The point of getting good grades in middle school and high school was to get into a good college, and then the point of going to college was to get into grad school or med school, and the point of that was to get an MD or a PhD. And for me, I didn't really like having my whole life already mapped out for me, so I just trying out different entrepreneurial ideas and so on was my way of rebelling against my parents. And, so I started out. I tried. From the outside, it might seem like Link Exchange or Zappos were overnight successes, but really part of the goal of the book is to help inspire other business owners and entrepreneurs, show that it's not all easy. There's definitely a lot of stressful times and a lot of things that don't work out, like the worm farm business didn't work out, but it's all just part of the path of being an entrepreneur.
Right. And I have to thank you so much for writing your book. I mean, your book, the whole book was such a huge inspiration for me, and I'm sure it's an inspiration for millions of people and entrepreneurs out there. And so thank you so much for doing that. And so what made you decide to write this book?
I think 50 years ago, businesses assumed that they had to choose between maximizing profits and making customers happy or employees happy through customer service or culture. And I think because we're living in a special time where information travels so quickly through and spreads very quickly through Twitter, blogs, and so on, that it's actually possible to have it on, like, focus on customer service and make customers happy, focus on employee happiness, and really build strong company cultures, and have all of that actually drive profits and business growth, as opposed to being at the expense of profits or business growth.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you felt like it was time then for you to share what it is that you do, and the culture of Zappos to inspire other entrepreneurs to do the same.
Yeah. So we've really we, for example, made the Fortune Best Companies to Work For list 2 years in a row now, and that was a goal that we set early on. But we didn't want this idea of happiness in the workplace to be limited to just us, and so we actually have programs. We have a separate website called ZapposInsights.com where there's a monthly subscription service, and we also hold 1 and 2 day seminars where we help other companies figure out how to build their own strong cultures by really focusing on the core values that are right for their company. And so it's been really cool. We've seen other companies actually go back and focus on customer service and company culture, and then they come back, and not even internet-related companies. There's the Advanta refrigeration company that does refrigeration repairs out in the field, and they totally transformed their culture, and now their revenues are up and their profits are up. And so part of the idea of the book is to help spread this message, and hopefully, hence the title of the book, Delivering Happiness. It's not just about to our employees and our customers, but to other people in the world as well.
Right. And in the book, I noticed you went through a period of time where you started to learn about happiness. And I think it was like in 2007, if I remember right, from your book there. But what made you decide to do that? I guess as the business got more successful, I don't know. Is it that you started to look for what's next in your life, or how did it come about that you started to learn and study more about happiness?
Well, originally it was more just as a side interest or hobby. There's this whole field that's about the science of happiness that I thought was really just interesting reading. So I started reading books and articles and having nothing to do with business. And one of the things that I found out as I was reading more of it was that people are very bad at predicting what will actually make them happy in the long term. And a lot of people think, oh, once I get X, then I'll be happy, or once I achieve X, then I'll be happy, when the research shows that's actually not true. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then, also in terms of thinking about how to make customers happy or employees happy, because people are bad at predicting what will make them happy, you can't just ask employees what will make you happy and just do that, because a lot of times what they think will make them happy may not actually bring them as much happiness as something else that has come out of the research. So the area of research is actually referred to as positive psychology, and actual research that's been done, because prior to 1998, most of psychology was about trying to figure out how do you take people that have something wrong with them and make them more normal, but nobody ever really bothered to study how do you take normal people and make them happier. And so I just thought that was pretty interesting, and there's actually stuff that's from the research that we've now applied at Zappos, and I share some of the frameworks of what I've learned from reading the research. So just one real quick example is one of the frameworks is that happiness, really having a sense of progress, is very important in terms of people feeling happy. And so we used to, in our merchandising department, hire people at entry level, and then we would give them a promotion every 18 months. And then after 3 years, they would have gotten 2 promotions and become a buyer, which is kind of a big thing at Zappos. And so a few years ago, we changed that so that instead of a big promotion every 18 months, we gave them smaller promotions every 6 months. And it still took them 3 years to become a buyer, and they still had to go through the same training and certification and so on. But then we found employees were much happier because there was this ongoing sense of progress, even though nothing had actually changed.
How do you apply that in a small business where you don't have a lot of a position to promote people up to? How would you apply that?
Well, you could just create smaller positions. That one way we did it was just by numbers. Like, we used to just have people went from merchandising assistant to assistant buyer to buyer. And so now what we have is you go from merchandising assistant level 1 to merchandising assistant level 2 to merchandising assistant level 3, and then assistant buyer 1, 2, 3, and so you just insert some numbers in, and then those are new positions.
That's awesome. That's a great idea. And it seems to me, reading the book, I now learn all of the challenges that Zappos went through in the first few years of its business. But it seems to me like you were very calm. I mean, a lot of stuff was going on, but you were very calm. You talk it out with your team members. How did you do that? How did you stay calm and didn't just throw in the towel and quit?
I think ultimately that just comes down to making sure that whatever business you're in, it's something that you're passionate about, and you're passionate about the people you're working with. If they're people that you would choose to spend time with, even if you weren't in business together, then you're going to get a lot further when you are in business together than people who you're kind of forced to be working with.
Right. And so, I mean, do you think that, and if you had started this business by yourself, instead of going in with partners, and do you think that you would still have the same? Because I'm sure when people have partners, they have accountability, and there's a lot of friendship that you push one another. Do you think it would still be the same if you were the founder and the CEO and started the business?
Well, it's I think there's definitely a lot of value that comes out of being part of a team, and you can really help. If one person is feeling down, then the other people on the team can help bring that person up, and so. But the key is it really needs to be people that you enjoy being around, because if there are plenty of examples in corporate America of dysfunctional teams,
right,
where both people are part of a committee or team, but no one really gets along. And so in those cases, it's probably much better just to do something on your own.
Right, exactly. And I know you are a big book reader. You read a lot, you learn a lot. What are you currently still doing to continue to condition your mind?
I definitely continue to read. Since I travel so much, I always bring at least 1 or 2 books with me on every trip, and it's something that I do. And then also, I guess just through Twitter, I discover a lot of interesting news articles and so basically reading online and in books.
Awesome. And so, okay, we have mind, body, and spirit. So, what about for your physical body? Are you very active? You exercise a lot, run a lot? What is it that you do?
It's harder when I travel, but I definitely do try to run. I've never been a morning person, but really, that's the best way to make sure you keep at it is wake up early and run in the morning. And but one technique that I found actually helps is if you actually wake up a little bit earlier and then you run, and then afterwards you shower, and then you take another nap afterwards, and then you're not waking up early thinking, I have to be up for the next 18 hours. You only need to be up for the next hour and a half, and then you can go back to sleep.
Gotcha. And so now for your spirit, what do you do for your spiritual growth?
I don't know. I guess I've never really thought specifically in terms of spiritual growth. I really just thought about what, definitely trying to apply some of the learnings from the Science of Happiness to my own personal life. Another example is that research has shown that people are happier if they feel like they have a higher purpose or are part of something bigger than themselves that has a higher purpose and that's beyond them. And so, for me, that's part of the reason for writing the book and trying to start this movement is in terms of happiness in the world is really about fulfilling that.
Okay. That's awesome. Yes, and I noticed that you do spend a lot of time and looking, I guess, introspectively into yourself, and so that's part of spirituality too, I think, and this movement that you're trying to create or be a part of, is this movement just about us being happy ourselves, or us, like you said, delivering happiness to others, or is that one and the same?
Well, I think it ends up being the same thing. There's been plenty of research that shows that if you give a meaningful gift to someone else, it's actually the person giving the gift actually ends up being happier than the person receiving the gift. And so, I think similar thing. Like, yes, part of what we're trying to do at Zappos is about helping other companies and delivering happiness to other people, but ultimately it ends up benefiting ourselves as well.
That's awesome. And I know that the book just recently came out, and it's it already. How many has it sold already? Do you know? I know you were like the number one on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and so I'm curious as to. It sounds like it's a great book, and I've been telling everybody about the book since I've gotten it on my Kindle and reading it. I can imagine this book is gonna go and sold millions of them. Do you have a goal of how many millions of these books you want to sell?
Well, millions is a lot of books, but I don't know the exact number that's been sold. But we did recently hear that we made number one on the New York Times bestseller list, and also Wall Street Journal and USA Today have their own list as well. But I don't actually know the
count,
what the actual number was.
Right, but do you have a goal of how many you want to sell?
I guess it's not so much a numerical goal so much as it is just. Hopefully this will help be the start of getting other companies to really think differently than what we're used to in terms of corporate America, and the goal is really either to have kind of the traditional corporate America change or inspire other companies to do this and basically put the traditional way of doing business put those companies out of business, the ones that don't care about customer service or the ones that don't care about employee happiness.
Gotcha. Do you think that's the holy grail of business, or it should be?
In terms of employee happiness?
Employee happiness, customer happiness.
Ultimately, I guess businesses are here because they want to create profits in the long term, and there's been research that's been done that actually shows a high correlation between employee happiness and engagement and therefore employee productivity, and so it's really more about, I think, helping businesses realize that it's not mutually exclusive, that really one helps drive the other in the long term, and where companies get in trouble are when their employees are disengaged and unhappy, and their customers are unhappy, and they may be able to overlook that in the short term, but in the long term, it ultimately ends up causing many companies to not.
Awesome, great, and I know we're running out of time here, and you have to go. Before we wrap up this interview, I want to play a little game with you. Imagine that you're gonna be adopted by an alien tomorrow, and they're gonna take you to Mars, and you're never gonna get to come back on Earth again. What is the one message you have for all of the entrepreneurs out there?
I would say figure out what you would be so passionate about doing that you'd be happy doing it for 10 years, even if you never made much money from it, and that's what you should be doing. And kind of the ironic thing is, if you're doing something because you're passionate about it, the money will actually follow, because your employees will sense it, your customers will sense it, and all of that will just have this snowball effect that will actually, because you're not focused on just the money, will actually, I think, bring you more profits and money in the long term.
That's awesome. That's a great message, and I'm sure that message is going to go down in history to help a lot of entrepreneurs out there, to inspire a lot of entrepreneurs out there. I want to thank you so much for taking your valuable time to be on this interview. I appreciate you greatly, and I'm sure that the viewers also appreciate you greatly as well. And just thank you so much for being who you are. Thank you so much for being Tony Hsieh.
Well, thank you.
All right.
And send someone to rescue me from Mars, please.
Sure will. And well, actually, one more thing. So to get your books, I guess they can just go anywhere. You want to mention about that?
Yeah, sure. It's well, here's what the book looks like. It's called Delivering Happiness, and the subtitle is Path to Profits, Passion, and Purpose. It just came out June 7th, and you should be able to find it at Barnes & Noble, Borders, most bookstores. But we actually have heard reports that some of them have been out of stock, so you can always order it online at Amazon. Just go to Amazon and search for Delivering Happiness.
Awesome. Are you guys doing any book tour, any bonuses when people buy books directly from Zappos?
Well, so we don't actually sell the book on Zappos.
Oh, okay.
Buy it through Amazon. But yeah, if you go to our website for the book, deliveringhappinessbook.com, we'll be updating it with, we're actually planning a cross-country bus tour starting about a month from now. So just check that website for updates.
Oh, that's awesome. I would love that. Great. Okay, well, thank you so much, Tony. And I look forward to doing the next interview, maybe on your next book. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Hello.